everyone. Can everyone hear me? Is the sound coming through loud and clear? I do just want to check before I start talking, because one day last week I did a live stream, talk for like 4 minutes and no one could hear me. So we're good to go. All right, cool. I'm getting some yeses in the chat. Great. All right, so this is the latest absolute nonsense in the Delphi case. So we're going to talk through everything that happened yesterday. Yesterday was potentially a big day in the Delphi case because there was a status hearing. If you've been following this case, you probably know what happened, that it was cancelled. It was cancelled after about 35 minutes. So we're going to get into it. And also there was 4 new motions posted, 2 from the defence and 2 from Slick Nick himself, from the prosecutor's office. So they're only short. I'm going to read them all and we're going to discuss it. That's what we're going to do. Yes, sunglasses gate. Yeah, you got it. Sunglasses gate. Oh dear. If you only kind of follow this case in passing, you know, you dip your toes in every now and again, then yesterday, oh, you're going to think it was just insane. Absolutely insane. Dear me. But at least Rick's looking better. He, you can't really tell on the stills, but I'm going to play a short news piece, just like a 2-minute news piece that shows Rick getting out of a police vehicle, and he actually smiles. He looks more relaxed. He looks well. He looks like he's put on a little bit of weight, and he wasn't so heavily shackled. He had obviously had cuffs on, but he was walking normally. He wasn't, you know, he just looked like a normal pre-trial inmate. Doesn't have the pizzazz that Brian Koberger has in his sharp suit, but at least we're a step up from him being led around on a leash like he was at Westville. Of course, he's been in county jail, at Cass County Jail, for how long now? It's not a month, is it? But at least it looks like they're taking good care of him. So at least that's something. Let's say a couple of hellos first, though, so that it just gives the people a chance to come in. It's 20 past 12 here in the UK, so I realise that in the United States it's going to be very early, very, very early. What, like 7:20 on the East Coast? I will be live again later, incidentally. I want to talk about Stefan Stearns. So it'll be this evening my time, probably around 7 p.m. or thereabouts my time. There's some stuff I want to read through. There's been some new documents released in the Madeleine Soto case. So I want to read those into the record of this channel. Yeah, so you're going to get 2 lives today. All right, let's see who's in the house. Old lady, good morning. Good morning, Mason. Your neighbour goes to Crufts, has 8 springers. No way, 8 springers. Wow. There's somebody who walks around my village with 6 springers. I'm not allowed to have 6 springers. I would have 6 springers, but I'm not allowed. They're a lot of work, though. They're pretty... They're too clever. They're not like normal dogs. They're too clever. Halloway, your local grandmummy. Good morning. More shenanigans in Delphi. Absolutely. Hello, Vicky. Cold weather front in Texas. You're only supposed to get up to 93 today. That would kill me. That would absolutely kill me. Hello, Shelley, Carol, Angie, baby. Good morning, good afternoon. Nicola, hello. Babe. Namie Rose. Oh, so we got 2 Arctic Wolves. CW, good afternoon. Yeah, remember to hit the like button. It just helps with the algorithm. It helps a lot with the algorithm. Helps push the stream out to more people. Hello, Petunia and Holly. What's going on now in the case? Well, that's a good time to get into it. So, hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Okay, going to play just a couple of minutes, a short news piece. And this basically tells us a little bit, just a little bit, of what went down yesterday. But it said, look, the news haven't got Sunglasses Gate. The news haven't picked up on Sunglasses Gate. Oh dear. All right.
An unexpected turn of events in Delphi today. The man accused of murdering Delphi teens Abby Williams and Libby German appeared in front of a judge. Well, part of that hearing involving Richard Allen was supposed to be open to the public. But as WRTV's Rachel Wilkerson reports, that didn't happen.
We never made it inside the Carroll County courtroom. The day began with a closed status hearing. About 35 minutes into that hearing, a deputy came out and told us there would be no public hearing. When asked why there was a change in what happened, investigators shrugged. There is no transcript of today's proceedings, and everyone involved is under a gag order. The families of Abby Williams and Libby German did meet privately with prosecutors and investigators. Meanwhile, Allen's family was in the hallway crying, confused about what was going on. Defense attorneys then met with them. There were 4 new motions filed today. The bottom line is the defense is pushing to speed up the process when it comes to receiving documents. They say they want them in 15 days instead of 30. Both sides must have their evidence in by October 1st. The trial is set for October 14th. Some of those requested records involves the doctor who cared for Richard Allen during his time at Westville Correctional Facility. The physician testified in a previous pretrial hearing that she was aware of the Delphi murders and knew who Richard Allen was. The defense claims that doctor was investigated after pretrial comments and wants access to those findings. The state also wants to prevent its own witness from getting on the stand next week, along with 2 others. That's because the judge has not ruled whether or not these third parties can be mentioned during the trial. The state also claims that the defense is trying to annoy, embarrass, and oppress them. In Delphi, I'm Rachel Wilkerson, WRTV.
Okay, so that's WRTV. Let's just play the little bit of Rick getting out of the truck again. Where is it? There it is.
Have their evidence in by October 1st. The trial is set for October 14th.
See, it just smiles, just makes a little smile. Because on the stills, I saw the stills before I saw the video. I wasn't sure whether he was smiling or whether he was just like the sun, you know, squinting because of the sun. But no, it actually smiles at the sheriff's deputies. So it's a little step up, a little step up. So good to see. However, what went down? There was somewhat of a question mark, a big question mark about this hearing. So the hearing was scheduled for 1 p.m, but it was in 2 parts. The first part was private. So we talked about it in the live stream last week. There was a lot of speculation as to whether, you know, from the pro-prosecution people who are, I don't know, living in some kind of alternate reality or something. I don't know what's going on with them. But a lot of people were saying, oh, Rick's going to take a plea. Rick's being offered a plea deal and he's going to take it. So that's what this hearing's about. And I was thinking, no. Even private status hearings, they don't use those for discussing plea bargains. They do that in private. They do that completely off the record, because even though a hearing in court, so a court hearing is close to the public, there is still a record. It's still on the record. The details about plea bargains and things like that are done in private. They're not done on the record. Not to my knowledge, anyway. Now, how they do it in Indiana, I have no idea. But that was a lot of the speculation that went around last week. That, Francis is having this private hearing so that they can work out Rick's plea bargain. And then they're going to go public. Because the second part of the hearing was public. So, press and members of the public could go in, the families could go in, etc. And then they were going to announce it that Rick had taken this plea. No, that's not what happened. However, what did happen is currently unexplained, because around 35 minutes in to this private hearing, everyone's waiting outside, waiting to go in to the public portion of the hearing, and deputies came out and told everyone to go. It was done. Go home. Go home. It was done. So the families of Abby and Libby, I think Libby's family, I'm not sure that any members of Abby's family were there, but Libby's family were photographed, and they met with prosecutors. And the big thing that set the pro-prosecution Reddit subs alight, if you follow Delphi case on Reddit, it's absolutely insane. It's insane. I'm a little bit addicted to Reddit at the moment, honestly. But yeah, there was this. I'm not gonna show the. It's just too silly. It's too silly to even show you. But there was this thread going on one of the pro-prosecution Delphi subreddits. And they were saying the defense has got a gazebo. The defense has got a gazebo. And the meeting in the gazebo in front of the court, in front of the courthouse. Well, that was nothing of the kind. There is apparently a small gazebo outside of Carroll Circuit Court, but it's not something that's been set up by the defense. I was thinking, oh God, people are thinking they've got like some kind of tent out there, like they're camping out there. I know it's summertime, but no, that's ridiculous. No, this gazebo is always there. So apparently it's somewhere that they sat, like Rick's family, when they were all told to go home, they headed towards this gazebo and were sat there, like upset, crying and that, because they didn't know what on earth was going on. Exactly. Thank you, Sicilian Queen. Plea deals are between the attorneys. The court isn't involved. And even if, like take Alec Murdoch, for example. It was a while ago now. It was after the trial for the murder. It was he was heading to trial. And I know it's a different state. I know the Murdoch case is South Carolina. It's a different state, but still, same process. It's the same in my country. If there's a plea deal on the table, it's all done in private, right? But Alec Murdoch turned up at a hearing. They were almost to trial for the financial crimes. And he suddenly got to court and then suddenly decided he was going to plead guilty. And this hearing was postponed. Like, all the cameras were there. The cameras were rolling. There was no sound, but the cameras were rolling in the courtroom for hours. And all the attorneys had gone into, presumably, the judge's chambers to discuss the fact that Alec was going to plead guilty. So they were working out the specifics before they came back into court. So the hearing had to change from and just a normal pre-trial status hearing to one where they would accept Alec's plea of guilty. So it was done privately. And then they came back into court and basically told the world that Alec was going to plead guilty. But it's never done in court. Thank you, Blissful in Essence, for the $20. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. And Kimberly has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much, Kimberly. We've got Emma, Lulu, Mickey, Bonkers Babe, and Nana Caroline. So thank you, Kimberly. And welcome, you guys. You get a month's free membership. Check out the members area. So no, if they set up a status hearing and suddenly, you know, the defendant decides to plead guilty on the day, then they're going to take it private. They're not going to do it in court, whether it's in the public domain or not. They're not going to do it in court because it's nothing to do with the judge. It's between the attorneys, and then the judge, you know, just verifies it. Anyway, that was the nonsense that was going around last week. But we still don't know the purpose of this status hearing. I think it would be something relatively mundane, because status hearings are done like pre-trial quite regularly. The reason why we're not used to status hearings in this case is because Fran has had very few hearings. But, you know, heading towards trial, status hearings, they happen. And I suspect, I can't say for sure, but I suspect the reason why the first portion of the hearing yesterday was private was because it was to do with things like the jury instructions and stuff to do, you know, procedural stuff that the public doesn't need to know. But it is very peculiar as to why 35 minutes in, they decided to halt proceedings and vacate for the day. Maybe Fran and the attorneys wanted an early weekend. I don't think so. I think it's to do with these motions. The fact that 4 motions were posted on the very same day that this hearing took place, like they all came out just like ahead of this hearing. And I suspect it's to do with the content of the motions, because Fran has still to rule on 2 of the issues, 2 of the burning issues that have come from the 3 days of hearings that were had at the end of July, first day of August. Angie baby, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining. Welcome to the Secret Agents Club. No, Richard Allen has nothing to gain by pleading guilty. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing. So no, at this stage, there is not going to be a plea. I'm sorry, he's not going to plead guilty. You're back, Angie. Member for 13 months, you are back. So what was yesterday all about? I think, and it's just my opinion, and I might be wrong, I think it's because these 2 burning issues have not been ruled on yet. And I think either one or both parties, possibly the defence, has said, we can't discuss whatever it was they needed to discuss while we've still got these issues on the table. So I think they postponed it. That's what I think. Because we've got 2 burning, really big issues that Francis needs to rule on before they can basically prepare for trial. I mean, I know they've been preparing for trial for, you know, the last God knows how many months, but the final preparations, like the most important part, is, you know, the witnesses and the strategy. And the defence can't strategize at all until Francis rules on whether she's going to allow the third party guilt defense, because Nick, Slick Nick, does not want, we talked about this a lot, talked about this on several live streams. Nick put a motion in way back when saying that he wanted certain words and phrases banned from the trial. So he wants Odinism. He wants the names of the Odinists that were named in the Franks motions. He wants Kegan Kline and Tony Kline and Ron Logan, those names banned. He wants all, any opposition, any alternate suspects. He wants their names banned from the trial completely. And of course, the defense, if that is granted, if Nick's motion is granted, is Odin in? We don't know yet. This is the whole thing. We do not know yet whether Odin is in or not. Because if Francis grants Nick's motion, then the defense has to put together a completely different strategy for how the trial will proceed. You know, if they can't mention Odinism and can't bring up third party suspects, then they're going to have to handle the trial in a very different way than what they're expecting. The other motion is to whether they are going to allow the confessions, the 61 confessions that Rick allegedly made in Westville. She's not ruled on that either. So I think that yesterday's hearing was postponed because of the things that Fran still has to rule on. That's what I think. I might be wrong. I certainly don't think it's to do with Sunglasses Gate. For those who haven't heard this little juicy piece of drama, let me tell you about Sunglasses Gate. There is a YouTuber. Her channel name is True Grit Crime. She has been in the chats here. She does join in the chat sometimes. She's a smaller channel, and she was there yesterday, and she had a pair of sunglasses on, like on her head. You know, like when you go inside and you put your glasses on your head. Well, these sunglasses were special sunglasses. These sunglasses had a camera in them. They're like smart sunglasses. So you've heard of like a smart watch. You've heard of an Apple Watch being able to take your calls and, you know, play things to you. Well, I'd never even heard of smart sunglasses. But apparently there's a brand of sunglasses that have got a little camera in them, and they can record a very small amount, like a tiny amount of video. I don't know whether they can take photographs, and it can play your music. Yeah, you can buy them online, yeah. So True Grit Crime, I'm sorry, I don't know her actual name. She turned up. She went through security, and all was good. Like, she had these sunglasses on her head. All was good. And as you know, Fran is very strict about electronics of any kind in the courtroom. So you're not allowed to take your phone in. You're not even allowed to take your phone in the court. Like she says, if she catches sight of a device, she will ban it. She will break it. She'll smash it up. So True Grit Crime went through security and was just sitting there waiting for the hearing to happen. And a cop came over to her. One of the deputies came over to her and said, "Is there a camera in your sunglasses?" And she said, "Well, yeah, but it's not charged." And apparently these smart sunglasses, they're like the smart watches, that they don't exist on their own. So they have to be paired via Bluetooth with a phone. So like when I used to have an Apple Watch, like you have to have your phone within the distance that Bluetooth will connect. So yeah, you can answer a call on your watch, or you can reply to a text on your watch, you know, and it's just like if your phone's in your bag or your phone's, you know, just away from you, you can do it on your watch. But the watch doesn't stand on its own. Like once the phone is away from, you know, the distance of Bluetooth connectivity, the watch simply becomes a watch. It loses its smart functions because it has to be paired with the watch. Well, apparently these sunglasses are the same. That if your phone's not within Bluetooth connectivity, then the sunglasses are simply sunglasses. There's no smart functions in them. And so she said, yes, they do have a camera. However, my phone's in the car. They're not connected to anything. They're just literally sunglasses. They're not paired. They're not charged and they're not paired. Anyhow, this deputy didn't like the answer and took the sunglasses off her and like said, you know, she could collect them when she was leaving. But he would have to inform Fran of this issue. So the pro-prosecution Reddit subs went crazy about this. That, this YouTuber spoiled it for everyone. Like the hearing was postponed because a YouTuber tried to sneak in a camera. And oh no, she's going to go to jail. She's in contempt of court. And no, nothing of the kind. So yeah, of course, maybe she should have thought, if anybody recognizes that these are smart sunglasses, that people are going to be upset by it, people are going to tell the judge. But she didn't think, because they're just sunglasses. You know, they're sunglasses. But when her phone's not within Bluetooth connectivity range, they have no smart function. So I don't believe that the hearing was postponed because somebody turned up with a pair of sunglasses on. It's a nothing burger. Yeah, it's a nothing burger. So anyhow, don't go to a hearing in Delphi with smart sunglasses on. That's all I can say. Unless you want to be the the discussion point in a whole bunch of subreddits. All right, so that's the drama. That's the drama, and not a big fat nothing burger. All right. Okay, let's get into these motions then, shall we? So there's 4 of them. They're only short though. And which one shall I put it on? There we go. Go full screen with it. All right. So I've not got these in any particular order. I don't know which came in first. I could look at the time, but anyway, this one is a motion to shorten the discovery response period. And this is from the defence, and it's relating to Monica Waller. Monica Waller, if you remember from the 3 days of hearings, is the psychologist that treated Richard Allen. She's the one who thought he might be faking it, but at the same time, she thought that there was some mental ill health, and she ended up concluding that he actually was in some kind of psychotic episode. But he confessed to her. But the problem with Monica Waller is that she was completely and totally unprofessional. She was in a whole bunch of Delphi Facebook groups, and she admitted at these hearings that she was following the case and she had a particular interest in Richard Allen. So that here in the UK, honestly, that would be, you'd be suspended from your job pending an investigation for less than that. For less than that. You know, so I don't know. It appears, though, based on this motion, that there is some kind of investigation going on about Dr. Waller's professionalism. So let's read this on a page. And then the second motion is almost word for word. I'm struggling to see how different it is. So there's basically two motions from the defence that are practically the same thing. So, motion for order to shorten the discovery response period. This is to get the information about what's going on with Monica Waller and the investigation relating to her. And it's very important for the defence to know this, because if Monica Waller is obviously she's the state psychologist, she's the psychologist that treated Richard Allen when he was in Westville. She's got a lot to say about Richard Allen, and because she's she's an expert witness, she's going to get a lot of traction in the jury. The jury are going to, look at her and think, yeah, she's an expert. She's a doctor of psychology. She's going to be able to tell us whether Richard Allen's confessions are kosher or not. We don't even know whether the confessions themselves are going to be allowed in the trial. But I could imagine that because Fran is so pro-prosecution, that she's going to allow the confessions. It's not going to matter that Rick was psychotic. She's not going to. That's just my guess, that Fran is going to order that the confessions can go into the trial. But anyway, motion for order to shorten discovery response period. Comes now the defendant, Richard Allen, by counsel Bradley Rosie. Respectfully request, pursuant to Rule 26 and Rule 34 of the Indiana Rules of Trial Procedure, that this honourable court shorten the time frame for third parties, Indiana Department of Corrections and the Indiana Attorney General, to respond to defendant's request for production to non-party dated 23rd day of August 2024. So they want to shorten the length of time that the state has got to hand over this information that they want relating to Monica Waller. In support of said motion, defendant Allen states as follows. Defendant Allen is the accused in this matter. The jury trial of this case is set to commence on October 14th, 2024. I thought it was October 15th, but I'm going to believe Brad. The parties are in the process of conducting discovery and have been ordered to exchange a list of trial exhibits by October the 1st. All good so far. The mental health services provided by Dr. Monica Waller were called into question during pre-trial proceedings in this cause on or about July 31st, 2024. It's those 3 days of hearings. She was on day one? She was on the stand for a long time. She was on the stand for a long time. But obviously, as cameras are not allowed in, live tweeting is not allowed, then we've just got to take it from the people who were actually there. But we've got some good notes. We had some good note takers in the court. So we do know a large portion of what happened. Defendant Allen has reason to believe that further employment-related investigations associated with Dr. Waller's conduct were carried out after said trial proceedings, pre-trial proceedings. Therefore, defendant Allen is pursuing information related thereto. So the defence has got wind of an investigation, and I bet you any money there is one. I bet you any money there is one. If she was a clinical psychologist treating patients in a prison or a secure hospital or wherever, and she was in Facebook groups and, she was she'd not declared an interest, a personal interest in the patient, her employment will be on the line. That would be not necessarily a sackable offence, but certainly she'd be suspended pending investigations. Whether or not she kept her job would depend on a bunch of factors. But I've seen people suspended for less than this. I really have. But then again, that's my country and not Indiana. But I fully believe what the defence are saying here, that they've got reason to believe that there is an investigation into her professional conduct. See attached requests for production to non-party. We'll look at those in a minute. Defendant Allen intends to tender the attached non-party request to each of the referenced non-parties and seeks a waiver of the 15-day response period required by Rule 34C of the Indiana Rules of Trial Procedure. Defendant Allen further seeks an order shortening the 30-day response period permitted by Rule 34C to Defendant Allen's non-party request for production of documents. So normally, trial rules in Indiana say that the opposite party's got 30 days in which to give over information. They want to shorten it based on the fact that the trial is coming up. It's coming up very, very quickly. It's a lot less than 2 months now. Defendant Allen seeks the shortened time frame in an effort to allow for adequate time to review any discovery received, conduct any further discovery necessary based upon the receipt of information, and to consider or not said discovery will be included in the trial exhibits list, which must be exchanged by October the 1st. So, if the state were allowed 30 days to hand this over, well, when would the 30 days start? And 30 days is going to take them to the last week in September. Well, then it only gives them a few days to decide what they're going to do about it. The result of this, whatever this investigation is. So I understand why, with the trial looming, why the defence has put this motion in hopes of quickening up getting the information that they need. I agree with them. Specifically, Defendant Allen seeks an order eliminating the 15-day notice period to the state of Indiana. Defendant Allen further seeks to shorten the 30-day response period by the Indiana Department of Corrections and the Indiana Attorney General to 15 days. Said request to shorten the time frame is not unduly burdensome on the state or any of the third parties, and Defendant Allen believes that the said request is in the interest of judicial economy. It absolutely is. Now, there's a second motion before we move on any further. There's this second motion, and to me, this I'm struggling. I'm struggling to see how different it is. Oh yeah, there is one difference I've noticed here. Okay, so it's almost word for word. However, it's including Centurion. So Centurion, I think, is the company that Dr. Waller actually works for, if I'm remembering rightly. So comes now the defendant Richard Allen by counsel Bradley Rosey respectfully requests, pursuant to Rule 26 and Rule 34 of the Indiana Rules of Trial Procedure, that this honourable court shorten the time frame for third parties, Centurion, Indiana Department of Corrections, and the Indiana Attorney General to respond. So maybe that first motion that I've just read that doesn't include Centurion, maybe they realise that they've forgotten Centurion, so I'll put the second motion in, including Centurion, because everything else appears to be the same. So mental health services provided by Dr. Monica Waller called into question during pre-trial proceedings. Defendant Allen has reason to believe further employment-related investigations associated with Dr. Waller's conduct was carried out. Said request was served on the states via email on August 13th. State of Indiana declined to it. Oh, it is different. Oh, it is different. Look, number 6 here. Defendant Allen intends to tender the attached non-party request to each of the referenced non-parties and seek a waiver of the 15-day response period. Well, it changes here. Said request was served on the state via email attachments on August 13th. So we're now August 24th. So they're basically sitting on it. They're basically sitting on this information. The state of Indiana declined to waive the 15 days notice period when said waiver was sought out by defense counsel. The 15-day notice period was set to expire on or about August 28th. Counsel intends to direct the non-party request for production to the relevant parties on August 28th in the absence of any motion filed by the state between now and that time. Counsel desires that the 30 days response period by the Indiana Department of Corrections, Indiana Attorney General, and Centurion provided in Trial Rule 34C be shortened to 15 days. So the rest is the same. Said request to shorten the time frame is not unduly burdensome on any of the third parties, and counsel believes it's in the interest of judicial economy that the court issue an order shortening the time frame for said non-parties to respond from 30 days to 15 days. Okay, so basically the state are sitting on information and they're not showing the defense. Cool. Cool. All right, so this is what the defense are trying to serve here. This is a subpoena. Hold on a minute. Let's load this up. So this is a subpoena. State of Indiana. To the sheriff, greetings. You are hereby commanded to summon Indiana Department of Corrections, a non-party, care of Elise Gallagher, to produce to the law firm Hillis, Rosie and Dean documentation requested in the request for production of non-party attached hereto, and produce the same within 30 days. Well, they want it shortened to 15 days. So pursuant to Trial Rule 34C of the Indiana Rules of Trial Procedure, Attorney Bradley Rose requests Indiana Department of Corrections to produce and permit the examination of copying of the following: a complete copy of the employment file on Dr. Monica Waller, including but not limited to performance evaluations, attendance records, internal investigations regarding employment matters, and conflict of interest statements. Oh, because at the very least, if she was treating Richard Allen, at the very least, she should have notified her employer that there was potentially a conflict of interest, that she had a personal interest in the case that Richard Allen was the defendant of. You'd like to see my opinion on the Innocence Project taking on Scott Peterson? He's guilty. He needs to just sit there and shut up and stop trying to aggravate and trying to get out, because he's never going to get out. That's my opinion. Bradley Rosie requests that such productions be made to blah, blah, blah. This request for production is made pursuant to Trial Rule 34C. Okay. All right. So they want everything to do with Monica Waller's employment history, whether she's had any complaints, whether she's got conflicts of interest, her performance reviews, everything. They want everything. Everything. How about innocent till proven guilty? He has been proven guilty. Fairy Goddess, he has been proven guilty. If we're still talking about Scott Peterson, if we're talking about Richard Allen, then I agree with you. But Scott Peterson was proven guilty by a jury. We've also got this other subpoena, again, virtually the same. Okay. State of Indiana to the sheriff. Greetings. You are hereby commanded to summon Indiana Department of Corrections, blah, blah, blah. So, copy of any Indiana Department of Corrections files associated with the conduct of Dr. Monica Waller while providing services for the Indiana Department of Corrections, including, but not internal affairs investigation. That should be not, I don't know, that doesn't make sense. Including, but not internal affairs investigations or investigations conducted by any other agents of the Department of Corrections. So those are the subpoenas for Monica Waller's employment. Okay. But the state also put in 2 motions. The defence has got some more depositions that are going to take place in the next couple of weeks. And Slick Nick wants them quashed. He wants Judge Francis Gull to say, no, defence. You can't do any more depositions. So I think this is incredibly out of order. I think this is totally out of order for Nick to even put in a motion to ask Francis to do this, to deny the defence carry out more depositions. Like surely in the states that allow depositions, like not all do, but Indiana does. So why is Nick doing this? Why is Nick doing this? Is he scared? Yeah, that's why he's doing it. Now comes the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney Nicholas C. McClelland, pursuant to Rule 45B of the Indiana Rules of Trial Procedure, requests that the court quash the subpoenas issued for Patrick Westfall, Nick Westfall. Nick Westfall is Patrick Westfall's son. Nick Westfall is the young man who was around 12 at the time of the murders, that Patrick Westfall at the time in 2017 claimed was his alibi. However, Nick Westfall said something different in 2023. So I imagine that the defence counsel wants to interview Patrick Westfall and Nick Westfall, who is now an adult. He's now over, if he was 12 when, well, he's almost an adult. Yeah, he will be an adult, won't he? 7 years ago, he was 12, so 19. He's going to be 19, so he's an adult, right? Maybe just wants, you know, them to be deposed under oath and to find out from them what the truth is here. You know, Patrick Westfall says that he had an alibi, that he was with his son all day. Well, Nick Westfall says he was at school. So which is it? Which is it? Because they could easily get the school records for Nick Westfall. I'm sure they could get the school records for Nick Westfall if they needed to. So it's an understandable deposition. Also, Tobe Leesenby, they want to do a deposition with Tobe Leesenby. Now, they've done him before. He was the sheriff at the time of the murders. So why wouldn't they want as much information from Tobe as possible? But Nick wants them quashed. She wants the subpoenas. He wants the subpoenas quashed and the depositions not to take place. And he wants Francis to order this. Okay. All right. So quash the subpoenas issued for Patrick Westfall, Nick Westfall, and Tobe Leesenby to be to be deposed in the above captioned matter. In support of said motion, the state asks the court to consider the following: that the defendant served the state with subpoenas to depose Patrick Westfall and Nick Westfall on August 28th, 2024. So going to be taking place in 4 days. And then Tob Leesenby on September 13th. That the state believes that the depositions of Patrick and Nick Westfall are unreasonable and that they are not relevant to any issues in this case. Okay, so Nick's going along that, well, you know, these people are not suspects because they were ruled out. They were ruled out early on. They were ruled out the beginning of March of 2017. They were ruled out without any investigation, without any clarification of the alibis that these guys said they had. And given that all of these guys seem to have lied, then it's understandable that the defense wants to get to the bottom of this before the trial. Surely it would be better for the defense to get to the bottom of this before the trial rather than waste everybody's time at the trial trying to ascertain whether or not these guys have got alibis. But of course, Nick is working from the premise that these guys are not even going to be allowed to be mentioned because he's hoping that Francis will grant his motion to disallow any mention of Odinism or ritualistic killing or Patrick Westfall's name. So that's the line he's taking. He's saying that this is unfair to Patrick Westfall and Nick Westfall, that they're being dragged into this again because they're not suspects. So, okay. The state believes that the testimony of the dependents is not relevant and is not exculpatory in any way to the defendant. Yet because the cops didn't do a proper investigation on these guys in 2017. Further, that a deposition is an effort by the defense to annoy, embarrass, or oppress the dependent or party. So because Patrick and Nick Westfall might be annoyed by having to turn up to be deposed by the defense, Nick wants the subpoena to get them into deposition. He wants it quashed by the court. The deposition of these dependents is set for August 28th. So Francis had better get a wriggle on and decide what's going on here. The state reached out to the defense to attempt to move the deposition until after the court has made its ruling on third-party motive. But the defense refuses to move the depositions. Yes, and rightly so. Because if the defense can ascertain at these depositions that Patrick Westfall lied and that Nick Westfall wasn't actually his alibi, then Patrick surely becomes a bigger suspect than Richard Allen because he's got motive. He's got motive, means, and opportunity. Arguably, Richard Allen didn't. Certainly didn't have a motive that we know about, that we can fathom. But Pat Westfall did. So ideally, they'll want to depose these two fellas before the court does rule on third-party motive, because Nick wants a third-party motive thing ruled on, and this is why I think that yesterday's hearing was postponed, because both parties are waiting for the result of this. This is why I think that the hearing yesterday was postponed. I might be completely wrong. It's just a speculation based on the fact that these motions came out on the same day and seem to be highly, highly relevant to the pre-trial preparations that a status hearing might, be involved with. So, yeah, of course the defence are not going to change the date. Of course they're not going to want to wait until what Francis rules, because they're expecting Francis to rule that the third-party guilt defence is not allowed, and that the mere mention of Patrick Westphal will not be allowed in the trial. So, of course, they want to depose these guys before she rules on that. So, Nick, really, I better have a word with Fran and say, look, Fran, you know, if you're my friend, if you really are my friend, then you'll rule on this before the 28th of August. So I am expecting Francis to rule any day now on this. That the state believes the deposition of Tobe Leesenby is cumulative. I can never say that word, cumulative, and oppressive in nature. So Tobe, who was the sheriff at the time of the murders, and at the time of was he sheriff at the time of those? He was the sheriff at the time of Richard Allen's arrest, anyway. So a guy who is the sheriff is going to feel oppressed by being deposed. Why? Because they've already deposed him once. Well, maybe they want to depose him again because there's been a lot of developments since they last deposed him in 2023. So surely, you know, based on what Patrick, they'll be, you know, they've done this for September 13th. So they're going to do Patrick and Nick first, Patrick Westphal and Nick Westphal first. And then based on what they say, they're going to go to Tobe and say, right, you give me your opinion. So it makes absolute sense. No, Tobe was not the sheriff. He was the sheriff at the time Richard Allen was arrested. Can anybody tell me who was the sheriff at the time of the murders? But he was, you know, part of the investigation. He was a big shot, along with Tony Liggett. He was a big shot at the time of the investigation. So Tobe Leesenby is a perfect person to depose and say, well, we've got information from Patrick Westphal and also his son Nick Westphal, and it appears that you lied. It appears that you lied. That's what they're going for. But obviously Nick wants to put the kibosh on this. He wants to quash it. The state believes that deposing Tobe again would be oppressive. The state believes that the deposition is being done in bad faith, in an effort to annoy, embarrass, or oppress Tobe Leesenby. Tobe was deposed on August the 9th, 2023, so over a year ago. Well, a lot's happened since then. A lot's happened since August the 9th, 2023. So I don't think it's unreasonable to depose him again a year later, given everything that's happened in the last, well, it's going to be 13 months by the time he's deposed again. So it's hardly oppressive, is it? It's hardly oppressive. It's not like they're, you know, subpoenaing him to appear every 2 weeks. If they were constantly badgering him, constantly getting him in to be deposed, yeah, that's oppressive. That's annoying. That's purposefully doing it to get on someone's tits, basically. But no, given the amount of stuff that's come out in the last year, it's perfectly within their rights, surely, in a state that allows counsel to depose people pre-trial, that 13 months later, they'll want to depose him again. The state believes all relevant topics were covered by the defence in that deposition. How do they know? Because, well, they do know, but well, like I said, a lot's happened since then. That the state believes that the defence intends to cover the same topics in an effort to harass, annoy, embarrass and oppress Tobe Leesenby. Come on now. yeah, it's the same topic of ordinism and these ordinist suspects. Yeah, same topic. However, there's a whole lot more that has come out in 13 months since Tobe Leesenby was deposed initially. All right. Okay, finally, another one. Motion to quash. Another one. Now, this is very interesting. David Schilling appears to be the state's ordinism expert. And the defence want to depose him pre-trial, which they are allowed to do. But Nick wants Fran to ban this one as well. Okay. Now comes the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney Nicholas C. McClelland, and pursuant to Rule 45B of the Indiana Rules of Trial Procedure, requests that the court quash the subpoena issued for David Schilling to be deposed, I'm sure that should say, in the above captioned matter. In support of said motion to quash the subpoena, the state asked the court to consider the following: that the defendant served the state with a subpoena to depose David Schilling on August 28, 2024. David Schilling is listed as the state's witness. So why wouldn't defense counsel want to depose him as the state's witness and a supposed expert on ordinism? Surely they'd want to speak to him beforehand. And in a state that allows it, why should they be banned from doing it? The state listed him as a rebuttal witness to testify as an expert on ordinism. Okay. All right. That the information on ordinism has been challenged by the state in a motion in limine, where the state has asked the court to exclude any testimony in relation to ordinism from the trial. So this is Nick's assuming that Francis is going to say, yeah, I'm going to grant your motion, Nick. I'm going to grant your motion that the defence is not allowed to mention the even utterance of the word ordinism or ritualistic killing. They're going to be in contempt of court if they mention it. Therefore, the state's going to argue that they're not even going to call David Schilling, as a rebuttal witness. If ordinism's banned from the trial, then there'll be no reason to call him, will there? There'll be no reason to call him as an expert on ordinism. Now, I'd like to know what this guy's credentials are to be an expert in ordinism. Maybe I should look him up. So I don't know what his credentials are. All right, but he's assuming that this deposition isn't necessary because Francis is going to rule that the mere mention of ordinism is not allowed anyway. Okay. The information on ordinism has been challenged. All right. That the state believes the deposition of David Schilling is unreasonable in that it's not relevant to any issue in the case, in his opinion. The state believes the testimony of the deponent is not relevant and is not exculpatory in any way to the defendant. Further, that a deposition is an effort by the defense to annoy, embarrass, or oppress. What is with that phraseology? I'm assuming that a phraseology is maybe in the trial rule procedures, so he's using it. The deposition is set for August 28th. The state reached out to the defence in an attempt to move the deposition until after the court made the ruling on the third-party motive, but the defence refuses to move the deposition. I'm not surprised. All right, I'm going to look up this David Schilling. David Schilling. Oh, there's a few of them. There's a David Schilling who plays tennis. Okay. All right. Ordinism. Okay. North Germanic runes and white supremacy gangs. The Prison Officer podcast. Okay, so this is a podcast. In this episode, I talk with author and gang investigator DJ or David Schilling. He has worked in the criminal justice field since 2006 as a correctional officer, security threat group specialist, and gang instructor. His specialties are the use of runes and Norse pagan symbology used by white supremacist gangs, criminal intelligence processes, and alternative religions and beliefs, such as radicalized Asatru and Odinism, Christian identity, and various occult topics. So this is going to be a state's witness if Odinism is allowed to be talked about. So what's he going to say? He's going to say, oh, those runes weren't really runes. Those things at the crime scene weren't really runes. Well, how's he going to get over the fact that Richard Allen was guarded by two guards who admitted being Odinists? How's he going to get around that? Look, Francis should allow the third-party guilt defence and just allow them to bring all the witnesses. Bring all the witnesses, get it all out in the open once and for all, let them battle it out in the courtroom and let the cameras in so we can all witness justice in process. He is the author of Norse Germanic Runes and Symbols, Field Reference Guide for Law Enforcement and Corrections. Let's look that up. On good old Amazon. Isn't the internet wonderful? Oh, look at this. This is Amazon. $8.29. Free delivery for Amazon Prime members, which I am. Hey, Purple AJ's hopping in with 10 memberships. Thank you so much, Purple AJ. You are an absolute superstar. Who've we got? Cool Whip, Susie, Guidance, Claire, Aussie Lana, Gorgeous George, Dina, Wee Gob Shy, Frederica, and Hope for Snoopy. Thank you so much, Purple AJ. You are amazing, and welcome, you guys. Month's free membership, courtesy of the wonderful Purple AJ. Go and check out the members area. All right, here's the book. Norse Germanic Runes and Symbols, Field Reference Guide for Law Enforcement and Corrections. The Jail Intelligence Series. Provides the criminal justice professional a different perspective on the Norse and Germanic runes, discussing how they evolved, when the runes first emerged, and how they are currently used. Before the 20th century, the runes were known throughout Europe, respected in earlier days, and then ignored for many later times fell out of use. In the early 20th century, the runes were hijacked by racial extremists, the Nazis, who changed their meaning to justify a radical doctrine of hate. The runes still used today are symbols of hate by white power prison gangs, neo-Nazis, and racial extremists. However, the runes are also used by peaceful adherents to heathenry and Norse paganism. Indeed, they are. So is this David Schilling going to come along and say, oh, the guards were using, their runes and facial tattoos for peace? Okay. Patrick Westfall and Johnny Messer and Brad Holder, they're all there for peace. Okay, that's what he's going to say. I see. Discover the evolution of runes, starting with the Elder Futhark and the Younger Futhark runes of the Viking Age. Follow the progression of runic development through the Anglo-Saxon and later medieval Marcomannic and whatever, and their subsets explore the armament runes of the 20th century German rune revival, as well as the modern day use of the runes by heathens, non-pagans, asatru practitioners, and Odinists. We'll also examine the use of runes and runic symbology of the Nazi era, up through modern day rune use by extremists. Emphasis is placed on how to learn which runes are being used and how to discern the content and intent of their message. Methods of transliterating the runes are discussed, as are runic ciphers. Also covered is the current trend of North Germanic pagan beliefs and symbols being combined with satanic symbols and beliefs. Sounds interesting. I might actually buy that book. How many pages is it? 121 pages. More of a pamphlet. Do I really want to spend £8? I don't know whether I want to spend £8 on a pamphlet. 121 pages. All right, I'll think about it. All right, let's see what else this David Schiller's been doing. All right, okay. runeresearch.com. All right, cool. Specialized training for law enforcement and corrections. Classes available in Norse Germanic runes and ciphers, asatru and Odinism. To train, to inform, to help. Jail intelligence, a model for small to medium-sized jails. How to implement a jail intelligence processes. Do you reckon this dude has been working with the Westville prison to get Richard Allen to confess? Is that the kind of thing that this dude would know about? Oh, I don't have a question. This course is designed to equip criminal justice professionals with an understanding of the role and impact of jail information and intelligence, so that the companions that sat outside Richard Allen's door writing everything down, is that his idea? Is that the kind of thing that he would advise on? That may be gathered and refined during the course of daily operations. It is, you know. It is. It's getting inmates to snitch on other inmates. Hey. Jail intelligence is a powerful tool for closing cases. Yeah, for getting people to confess and haranguing them. And then they confess and it's false. Making new cases, providing analytical data, and keeping a safe and more secure jail. Understanding jail intelligence and analysis, collecting information in jail, sources. Well, I wonder whether that would involve suicide companions sitting outside someone's door until they literally go insane. Information gathering through direct supervision, analysing jail data. Yeah, direct supervision. Oh, this dude. Oh, Nick, you've unleashed the hounds, son. This is your source. This is how Westville drove Richard Allen mad. Oh, wow. Wow. Look. Enhancing inmate management with intelligence. Ethical considerations. Well, maybe that's, oh, well, yeah, if we say that someone's suicidal, then we can post outside their door 24 hours a day a supposed companion to supposedly keep them safe, all the while noting down every single utterance and driving them mad until they make unfair confessions. Yeah, Nick hasn't done it. I can't even speak. Nick has outdone himself. Mind control tactics. Exactly. That's exactly what this is. Training jail intel staff. By the end of this course, criminal justice professionals will possess a deeper appreciation for the potential uses of jail information and intelligence, how to use it to their advantage in investigations, how to leverage its potential in providing better, accurate risk assessments, closing cases. There's only one way inside a jail that a case can be closed, and that is if someone confesses. Wow. What's this guy's credentials? What's his credentials? Jail intelligence guide. How to plan intelligence goals. Getting a buy-in from the top. Essential to success. Learn intelligence procedures and processes that work. Here we go. DJ Schilling, MS, has worked in the criminal justice field since 2006 as a corrections officer, specialist and gang instructor. Specialised in the use of the room. Right, what's his credentials though? So what's he qualified in? Like, yeah, he's a corrections officer, but what was his MS in? Like Master of Science, what's his MS in? You can get these off Google. But look, what's this guy? He must have some kind of psychology qualification. Interesting. Yeah, I'd guess psychology, yeah. If you don't hit the like button, a gull will poop on your head. Oh, that's funny. Thank you, Sandra, member for 27 months. Way. You are an OG. DJ Schilling. We chat with David Schilling on Norse symbols, gangs in jail. So he gets about the... he gets about in the podcast world. Oh, okay. So a little bit more. David speaks and teaches throughout the United States, running training for hundreds of police, corrections, criminal intelligence analysts, and court staff. David actively consults and shares information about jail intelligence processes. Yeah, but what's his qualification? There he is. There he is. That's the guy himself, David Schilling. Okay. I want to know what you trained in, though, David. I want to know what you trained in. I want to know how good you actually are in your mind control tactics. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, guys. All right, guys. You can't spell enrollment. It looks like all the others, yeah. They have a look, don't they? They have a certain look. He went on and on about magic and writing and said that there was no way that this is an ordinist act. Really? Where was that? In a podcast? Has he been on podcast talking about the Delphi case? I'm gonna have to look into this dude. On Quora, it says it's MS in criminal defence. Criminal defence. Well, I've heard of criminal justice as a master's course, but I've never heard of criminal defence as a master's course. I'm interested to know where he got his qualifications from. Bull poopery. Second page are all passed. All right. I may never even find it again. But I'm going to look into him anyway. Let's have a look. It doesn't say very much. It doesn't. He's worked in criminal justice. We know that. Authored the book. We know that. Oh, he's also been doing stuff with the UK police. Interesting. All right. Let's see if it says anything about him on Amazon. No, it's just the same blurb. Just the same blurb. All right, guys. I'm going to look into this guy. Yeah. Stefan Stearns later on. He got it from the jail library. Yeah. He'll probably do an appearance on Murder Sheet at some point. Definitely. Well, if he's got a master's, then that is a qualification, like MS, Master of Science, or it's he does. What's it in though? You get masters in all sorts of stuff. What time will that live be on? In about, time is it now? 20 to 2. 7 p.m. my time I'm going to set it up for. So that will be 2 p.m. Eastern. And then whatever that is in your time. So about 7 p.m. Behavioral science, maybe. Yeah, but what kind of behavioral science? That's pretty broad. But anyway, I'm just curious. Because I'm a curious kind of soul. But it's just very, very interesting. I think he's the guy that's been working behind the scenes with the jail, or the prison, with the prosecution, with law enforcement, to get Rick Allen to crack. And then, hey presto, Nick rolls him out in the trial to say, oh no, not an ordinist. These guys, no Odins to be seen here. No, Odin not involved. Yeah, all right. Seen you coming, Nick. Seen you coming. All right, guys, gonna go. Trooper pooper. Any contact from Trevor Farthing's folks? Not that I've seen. Not that I know of. I could check my emails, maybe. I checked my emails a few days ago and there was nothing. Yeah, mind controllers, yeah. You got a Masters of Science in Mind Control. These people are masters of mind control. Getting people to crack. Interesting. I could do that job. Could easily do that job. All right. I'm going to see you later. So 7 p.m. my time. That's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, I think. I'm going to set that up in a bit. And I'll see you then. So thanks, mods, as always. Thank you to those that donated. Welcome to the new members. And I'll see you in a little while. Bye, guys.